Hi, this is Joseph. It is Sunday. It's April 12th. Happy Easter to everyone. I hope you and your family are having a good weekend. So the markets are open, and we're looking at the daily time frames. Quickly, though, I'm going to take a look at the smaller time frames here. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to click that. 1 hour charts. We're looking at the 1 hour charts. I've got some breakout ranges set up, so I'm using last week's high here on the euro dollar. I'm not going to worry about this low here. Uh, right now, I'm just waiting to see how the market's going to react. So there were some, interesting developments over the weekend. The OPEC deal came together. I think a lot of people were thinking that perhaps it wouldn't come together the way it did. So we'll have to wait and see how the market's reacting to that. Uh, Also, a lot of hopeful. I guess I would call it hopeful. So the thinking behind how quickly the world is going to recover from the virus. And I think a lot of people are looking at the medical side of it, and then, it's great to see the numbers sort of change, but then there's a lot of interesting developments over the last few weeks about a second wave of the virus hitting and how long that's going to last, and will that actually extend the recommended stay indoors kind of calls. Everybody's calling it different things. I mean, some people are calling it lockdowns, stay indoors, that kind of thing. So if that continues, obviously we're going to have it's going to have a serious, it already has, but the economic impact of this is going to provide some significant opportunities here in the Forex market. I mean, it's going to have an impact across all markets, but we're Forex traders, so we're looking for opportunities here. And this, depending on how long this goes, we're going to see some interesting changes and reevaluation of these currency pairs. So I think that there's going to be some cycles and days where the market isn't too sure how to handle the information that's coming out, and we're going to have to wait for the next, either serious report or confirmed report or whatever the case is, even if it's economic data. And so we'll see days of sideways consolidation, tight ranges. Inside of sideways consolidation, I really don't have too much to do. There really aren't too many trading opportunities. This is Friday's trading range right here, so there wasn't really anything for me to do there. It's relatively small. And so now I'm just going to wait and see how the market reacts to the developments over the weekend. It's always, a good idea to keep track of things that happen over the weekend, because very often you'll see that reports or comments or statements are released after the market closes. And sometimes that is specifically and deliberately timed so that that doesn't create some kind of a reaction before the market, closes for the end of the week. It does also, in some cases, create gaps or a solid reaction over the weekend, but this weekend has been pretty much the same thing. So at this point, right now we're looking at really light volume levels because of the holiday anyway. So I don't expect too much. And it may be that Monday is relatively flat. It's possible. There may be some small opportunities here with little reversals. Right now, what I'm looking at is, we've got this high here. This is a 1 hour chart on the euro dollar, and it hit multiple times. And now we're looking at the same thing here with the open and then that immediate retracement or pullback. So I don't know if it's going to hold. I don't really think it's a good idea just yet, just because of the light volume levels right now. I don't want to get stuck into a trade at this time of the day. And when I would normally, we talk about this quite a bit. It's sleeping, trying to create office hours, trying to create set hours with your trading so that way you can control your behavior and your mindset and your ability to focus. So if you're just trading around the clock, and I know because I did this, I was just trading around the clock. I was only getting like 2, 3 hours of sleep at a time, and it got really, really stupid. It was by the end of the week, and even by Wednesday and Thursday, sometimes I just couldn't do it. It was just it caught up to me, and to try to make some kind of critical financial decision like this, making a trade or analyzing economic data to decide to make a trade, it gets really irresponsible to do it that way. You can do it sometimes, but I really don't recommend doing it. So if you put office hours and you know that you're going to be sleeping certain times of the day, well, when I adjusted to that, I had to accept that there's just going to be some times if I sleep during the Asian session, there's going to be trades that fire off during the Asian session. I'm just going to have to let some of those go, but I'd rather let some of those go during that particular time, because with my trading system, analyzing 19 years worth of my trades, I can see that most of the best trades happen during the New York session, And then the second best sessions for me are the London session, and then it's very few opportunities, less trades during the Asian session. So that would be the best time for me to sleep and get my 7, 8 hours of sleep. However, there are specific events that sort of require you to make some adjustments in some cases when the market starts to shift. And if you need to make trades, if you need to, if your system is firing off trades at a time that you would not normally be trading, you may have to make that adjustment as a full-time trader. I've had to make those adjustments throughout the years that my cycle might change, but for the most part, I try to stick to these hours. So what I'm getting at here is that right now with a holiday, right now that the weekend didn't really provide too much as far as a shock to the market with information and data that developed over the weekend so that the market was going to react to it on the open. Well, we don't see much of a reaction here. There's not really a whole lot going on. So I would expect that this is a pretty good time to just, keep an eye on the charts, set some alerts, but come back and trade during the London session and the New York session, which is what I normally do. And I expect that I'm not really going to miss too many opportunities here. So if this is some kind of a little reversal, maybe it'll just sort of go sideways and then retest one more time, let's say during the London session. Maybe I can sell it again, something to that effect. But of course, this is my breakout page with these indicators, this particular template. And then I would switch to the reversal template using the appropriate indicators that will help me confirm some kind of a reversal at resistance here on this one. So the pound dollar, pretty much the same thing. I've got, my high in here ready to go as far as resistance, but I don't really have a solidified support low that I really would consider trading off of for a continuation breakout trade just yet. So in this case, I'm going to also be looking at the larger time frames because we did see quite a move here on the pound dollar to the upside last week. The same thing here with, let me tighten this up, same thing here with the euro dollar. It was choppy, but it was nevertheless in an uptrend. And then the dollar yen, not a whole lot of change here with the dollar yen. And the dollar yen was inside of consolidation for a while. There was a few opportunities here, but other than that, it was a bit choppy. So I'm probably going to be on hold here until the London session. I don't really expect too much. So let's take a look at the larger time frames. Let's start off here with the euro dollar daily time frame. So again, bullish moves. I would expect more of the same. It has crossed over this moving average that I typically use with some of the other indicators, ROC indicators, things like that will help me confirm some of these trades. These trends that typically will last anywhere from 4, 7 days, maybe sometimes even 10 days in an extended move. This is just the initial setup. It's just to draw my attention to it. It doesn't definitely give me a signal. I really have to drill down to a smaller time frame, but it will help me confirm the overall direction, and it has crossed, and it does look like it's likely to continue higher. Again, when I say that, I'm always going to include that we should expect some kind of a retracement in the opposite direction of the trend that we're looking at, which would be perhaps just a retracement day or some kind of a pullback day. We're going to have those along the way. For example, in this uptrend, this was really strong. But then we have a small retracement day here. In this downtrend, we have a retracement day to the upside. So just the same here. It is bullish right now. I would expect more, but at one point in time, we're going to have some kind of a, even if it's just small, we're going to have one day that does print a bearish day, but it doesn't necessarily mean a reversal. It could, but it doesn't necessarily mean that right away. I don't have it. I don't see it right now. I don't see the bearish reversal pattern just yet. So I'm thinking there's going to be more to the upside, but there is an interesting tweezer top up here, which if I was to look at the 1 hour chart, I would probably wait for a breakout of a 1 hour candle or maybe a 4 hour candle above resistance. That would be something that I would consider, and then trade it as a continuation breakout trade to the upside. So again, I do expect a little bit more to the upside, but maybe Monday would be the reason why, with light volume and not a whole lot of participation with the holidays, it may just sort of retrace and just kind of bounce around a little bit, and then we'll get more of a pickup in the activity to the upside later in the week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, possibly. So, or it could follow through on Monday. Either way, same thing here. Monday. This is again, we're trading Monday here on the pound dollar. This is the daily time frame. Now I spoke about this one a couple of times last week, and this is a really interesting one here because we see this resistance level. It is creating quite a bit of resistance here. Now, normally when we see, not always, but very often when we see price tapping right into a resistance level like this, Well, you watching it like this and watching how strong it went right back into that resistance level last week, this it wouldn't take much for it to just turn right over and then continue a lot higher. So again, I'm going to be looking for a continuation breakout trade on the smaller time frames. I'm going to be watching the 1 hour. I'm going to be watching the 4 hour. And relative to this time frame, the daily time frame, I'm not. If I was just to trade off of this chart alone, this time frame, I would definitely need a candle relative to this time frame, the daily chart, to close above that resistance before I would consider trading this higher. But the fact that it's sitting here and it's running into this resistance and there's a possibility that it could roll over to the upside, I would be watching the 1 hour and the 4 hour chart for confirmation. Often that will give me enough of an opportunity where, let's go over here, I could trade it as a continuation breakout trade to the upside with approximately a 55 pip target. And then perhaps this is the 1 hour chart on the pound dollar. And then perhaps at the end of that day, this daily candle would then eventually close above that resistance, confirming a move a little bit higher, if that's the case. Dollar yen, I would expect a little bit more. We talked about this on Thursday. I would expect a little bit more to the downside, and there was, but it's just sort of sitting there. This one's a little choppy. This kind of reminds me of the euro dollar in some ways, where I see one price swing inside of a prior price swing, and then it just gets smaller and smaller as time goes on. And when that happens, it can create quite a bit of consolidation, which looks like this. This is the consolidation here on the the dollar yen 1 hour time frame. And there is some movement. I'm not saying that there isn't any opportunities, of course, but relative to this time frame, this is pretty choppy and pretty much contained. It is consolidation. So it gets a little more harder to read. And if that continues, this behavior, the ranges are going to get tighter, the price swings are going to get smaller, and a lot of these signals are not going to be as reliable. We'll get bullish and bearish candles, and they really don't go anywhere too fast or too far. It can be really frustrating and exhausting to try to manage a trade that you think is likely to go further, and it doesn't. It just goes sideways for 12, 13, 14, 18 hours. And maybe you're a little positive, maybe you're a little negative throughout the entire process. So it gets really difficult to hold on to a trade like that. It's better just to close out the trade and wait for a better opportunity, or just wait. So in this case, I do have last week's low here as a consolidation support. I've got last week's high. That might help. But then again, it could just bounce around in this range for a couple of days before really making a significant move. Again, going back to the daily time frames, this is what I'm looking at, and it looks like it'll probably behave that way, where I have up and down days for a little while, unless I get a clear break and something happens, let's say with some economic data or whatever. Either way, some kind of a signal at the end of the day here on the daily time frame that would indicate a likely trend, either to the downside or to the upside, either way. So again, I think right now at the open, it's just a matter of waiting to see how the markets react when they step back in and we get full participation of everybody coming back into their positions and willing to trade again after the holidays, and then analyzing the data and just try to figure out how this is going to look in the future. When are people going back to work, if they are? I mean, a lot of people can say, a lot of politicians are hoping that they can turn the economy back on and people will go back to work. But if businesses have closed down, you've got to have those businesses come back online, and that's a lot of work. So there could be, this could go on for quite a while. Not to mention, as I talked about just a few minutes ago, that there is a lot of speculation as to whether or not they're going to extend these lockdown periods for a lot longer. I'm in the Los Angeles area. I'm in Southern California, so I know that Los Angeles area, I'm in Orange County, but Los Angeles had extended their lockdown to, I think it was May 15th. So, and then they said even then, when that day comes around, they may even extend it even longer. And I think we're going to see that quite a bit more. It's just a reality that we have to deal with, and I think everybody's coming to terms with that in their own way. And ultimately, the market's always right. We just got to be on the right side of it. And right now, it's consolidation, which means we need more data. That's exactly what it tells me. It tells me that me and basically everybody else collectively, we just need more data to figure out how this is going to look, and then where to trade these currencies based on the economic outlook and projected, how long and how deep this is going to affect all these, each individual country and then the global economy as well. So I think we're going to get really great trading opportunities. But again, there's always that period of time where everybody's sort of settling and dealing with these changes, and it can take a little while. So and then there's a hopeful side of it, which isn't always the truth, but it's what we want, and that can be a letdown, and that can unwind a trade sometimes in itself. So again, let's just keep a close eye on it. I really don't have any signals. I don't think anything's going to happen during the Asian session, but I do think that this week's going to provide some pretty good opportunities. And the further out we get, obviously, the more adjusted we get to this new normal, whatever it is, and then we learn how to deal with it. We learn how to deal with it and learn how to trade it, and things will return a little more normal, and we'll have more opportunities.